little town of Bethlehem. Excuse me. O little town of Bethlehem, set up from the shepherd's fields in Jerusalem, in the Judean hills, in occupied territory today. Bethlehem, Bet, house, Lechem, bread. Reading the Hebrew the wrong way around, the bread house, house of bread. Who loves the smell of freshly baked bread? I do for one. Out of this little town came the one to rule Israel, Yeshua HaMashiach. Our God knows what he's doing and always has done, plans to do us good and prosper us. Years ago, he spoke through the prophet Micah in chapter 5, verse 2, that the world-changing event, Advent, from this little town, the living bread of life born there. You can trace this promise throughout the Old Testament. For whosoever can take and be nourished not only by natural bread, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. In Genesis, the death in Bethlehem of Rachel, her name means you, female lamb, giving her life sacrificially as she gave birth to Benjamin. And the reference to her weeping in Jeremiah, the slaughter of the innocents, that the weeping would be rewarded. Then Ruth, the Moabitess, meeting and marrying Boaz, a kinsman redeemer, the only relative under biblical law who was willing to redeem a widow of his deceased relative. Name, land and legacy, a picture of Jesus who came years later to redeem his bride. The birth of Obed, who had a Jewish grandmother, Naomi. Oh, the mighty God we serve. I stand amazed at his organisation. Then David, great-grandson of Ruth, born and raised in Bethlehem, living the life of a shepherd, foretelling the coming of great David's greater son, the great shepherd of the sheep, Jesus. So these amazing lines of genealogy, all pointing to the birth of Jesus, under the bread, coming to the bread house. Jesus referred to himself in John 6 as the bread of heaven, the living bread, 5 times. That must be important. Which table are we eating at? The table of the King, and be like those who recognise Jesus breaking bread in Emmaus, or another. Let's do as we're bidden and eat only the living bread, remembering Bethlehem, a place for the hungry, where the supply never runs out, and we are nourished and fed to bring glory to our faithful Father. Amen.
When the journey is long, when the journey is long and we hunger and thirst, bread of life, you sustain us. When the road is hard and our bodies weak, bread of life, you heal us. When our spirits are low and we can't carry on, bread of life, you revive us. When we offer our hand in love and in service, bread of life, you bless us. When the challenge is great and the workers are few, bread of life, you empower us. When the victory is won and we see your face, bread of life, you will rejoice with us. Amen.